Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a quick hit podcast to get you ready for the day. I'm talking to you from PNC Park. You should certainly recognize that. Following one of the better, maybe the best Pirates win of the year. They were down 6-2, rallied for 4 runs in the ninth inning, won 7-6, rallied for 4 in the ninth, and then won 7-6 on Nick Gonzales' walk-off single in the bottom of the 10th. A lot of exciting stuff. We're going to get into all of that. First, I want to remind you, though, that we are sponsored by the North Shore Tavern. You don't have to be a baseball fan to love it there. The interior is wall-to-wall Pirates. There are appetizers, entrees, cocktails, and, of course, steak and seafood on a sizzling lava stone. Open every day. The North Shore Tavern across from PNC Park is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. So I'm going to get to some quick hit impressions from tonight's game just because it's the most recent thing, but there's some bigger picture Pirates topics to discuss and wanted to get into some Steelers stuff as well. I was over at OTAs for the first day at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex and some interesting things to pick at there. My biggest takeaway from tonight, honestly, is Oneil Cruz. An absolute monster of a game. I know Nick Gonzales got the winning hit. David Bednar was good. The bullpen sort of held it down after Martin Perez was so-so. Kutch had a couple of hits, whatever. Oneil Cruz, when he's on, is just absolutely bonkers. I think he was 1 for 19 with 9 strikeouts, something like that, coming in, and has 3 hits. And just absolutely smoked, too. First player in the StatCast era with multiple hits of 120-plus miles per hour in the same game. Also the first player in the StatCast era with 3 hits of 115-plus in a single game. Oneil said a few minutes ago down in the clubhouse that I was swinging pissed off. Well, they need to find a way to irritate Oneil before every game or during every game. He dropped a fly ball early on that he should have had. Jack Sawinski really should have called him off. But whatever. I'm willing to live with the defense. It hasn't been good. Not going to try to defend it. But what he can do with the bat when he's on is special. Nobody else can. I mean, it's shades of Giancarlo Stanton, and it might be even better. Cruz, I believe, has the top 2 hardest hit balls in Major League Baseball this season. I want to say, going from memory, 3 of the top 4, 4 of the top 8, I want to say. I mean, he's just such a freak. Nick Gonzales was funny talking about this. I know it was on the broadcast, and then he reiterated it with us in the clubhouse afterwards, saying it almost like bums him out. As hard as he hits a ball, as good as he might feel about contact, it's never going to be what Oneil Cruz can do, and that's the truth. That's the truth. Few people can. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, but just such a special player, dangerous. And it's been choppy so far for Oneil. I still feel like there's another level to get to in terms of home run hitting, but his ability to impact the ball when he's taking smart swings, when the strike zone discipline is on point, just absolutely tremendous. A dynamic to this offense that they've needed. They've lacked at times, and we'll be curious to see if they're eventually able to bring it around. Okay, so some ancillary moves outside of tonight. Started the day, they brought up Ji Hwan Bae, sent down Ryder Ryan. Not wholly unpredictable. I was a little surprised on how they got there, that they didn't send down a position player, but whatever. They've got some off days. The starting rotation's been really good. Ji Hwan Bae has certainly earned it. I'll be curious to see what Bae does. I was hitting about 360 and change in AAA and basically carried that into tonight. Hit a single, stole a base. Want to see him in there. I don't quite know how they're going to balance that, which I think is a tricky act right now. You're obviously not going to remove Gonzales. 2 more hits tonight. He's playing every day. Got to play every day. Probably at second base. I could see maybe until Brian Hayes gets back, which, by the way, he took ground balls and did a few light things here. Probably, maybe the end of the week. I don't know if that's too optimistic, but I don't think it's too terribly far off, but whatever. In the meantime, maybe you move him to third if you want to play Bae at second. I think you got to give Bae some run and see what he can do. You certainly can't take Nick Gonzales out of the lineup. He's been spectacular. But I like the elements that Ji Hwan Bae can bring. Now, is that it for the Pirates? It might not be. Late in the game, I think it was a 9th inning or something like that. Yasmani Grandal left with what they termed left groin discomfort. Usually not good. He told the coaching staff, get Joey Bart ready. If this game goes to extra innings, he's not going to be able to go. Quick turnaround, that could be iffy. So we very well might see Henry Davis here tomorrow. Henry Davis has been very good in AAA, by the way. He's rediscovered some of his old magic. From what I understand, has went back to his old swing, stance, load, that sort of thing. When he gets up here, if and when, we really need to see Henry Davis stick to what is working now for him and don't deviate. We saw him tinker too much. I know people are going to be quick to blame Andy Haynes. Whatever the reason was Do not do it again. Need to see the bat from Henry Davis. It has worked. I mean, Nick Gonzales went down there, worked on things, came up. He's been very good. Ji Hwan Bae has basically done the same thing. The Pirates will obviously hope that happens with Henry Davis, and I think we could find out sooner rather than later. All of this, roll it into one, I think it tells us a little bit about the Pirates and what they are this season. We can sort of ascertain at this point, like, look, the starting rotation at the top is going to be pretty darn good. Skeens, Jones, Keller. Really like the top three. Have been impressed by Bailey Falter. Martin Perez kind of needs to find what he had early in the season. But you give me an offense with, if they can keep Brian back going the way he was, still probably looking for more out of Brian Reynolds. Oneil Cruz is a freak. Nick Gonzales, this version of him, I'll absolutely take. You want some more offense. Connor Joe's been very good, deserves to play, all that stuff. But very young, exciting players. They're going to be in a lot of games. They don't take no for an answer. I love the fight that they showed tonight. I hear a lot about them. They should add, right? And my argument or my answer to that is generally where. I don't think we know yet. I don't think we know what their true weakness is other than they need offense. I think you just need to keep going, keep playing the way they've been playing. The Chicago trip was very good. Tonight was very good. Milwaukee, not so much, but keep getting good starting pitching, keep scratching out enough runs to make a dent, and then figure out where your hole is and then address from there. Another Pirates topic I want to hit real quick is the Hall of Fame, a 3-person class. So I love Barry Bonds and Jim Leyland going in together. I'm going to talk to Jim Leyland today about that relationship and how special it is and why it's so special. And I've talked to both of them previously just about what the other one means. And it'll be neat to talk to Jim about, what Barry means to him, what the honor means to be doing this together, et cetera. I know as a kid growing up in Pittsburgh, I had a perception until I was old enough to kind of understand such things that like there was this bad blood between the two. And there's most certainly not. There's a lot of respect there. I did a story a couple years ago on Leyland and some stories surrounding him. And one of the coolest parts was getting Bonds on the phone. And I requested Bonds and he did the interview. He only wanted to talk about Leyland, but he talked my ear off on Leyland for 30 minutes. He was fantastic. And so, Bonds is going to talk here eventually, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. But he's probably going to have some great words to say. Manny Sanguillen, also in the class. I don't know if I said this earlier, but the one thing I don't love is Vernon Law not getting in. I just, somebody who's that up there in age, he lost his wife not all that long ago. They were very close, married for 70 plus years. I wish this was an honor that Vernon could get. That being said, Vernon is in very good health and does a lot of good things. So maybe next year, I don't know. I just wish they would have gone 4 and added Vernon Law. You also can't put everybody in every year. I understand it's a tough assignment and people are going to criticize it. So anyway, got to love the Bonds and Leyland thing. It's going to be a fun day in August whenever that rolls around. All right, Steelers-wise, some impressions over there. I wrote about George Pickens, and to me, he was one of the most interesting things there. I think, if you think of the Steelers, I've used this analogy with the Pirates before. If you think of them as like a series of dials, if you can turn one up the most, it's probably George Pickens. And that's not saying he was bad last year. I just think the upside is still so great. There's still so much there. And I was talking to George a little bit about that, about, wanting to be a number one, like the number one, elite of the elite. He certainly thinks he can do it. I will not argue with him. We also talked about some of his passion for things and how it bleeds over into other parts of his life and how he's wired. And you've seen the complaining about getting the ball, the sideline explosion. And I think coaches put up with that because they know where it's coming from. And I think with George, it's coming from a place of care. It's not always expressed well. I think he has irritated some people, but I think if you're involving him in the game plan, which I would hope and think that the Steelers really try to do this season, whether it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, really get him established. And that comes with the running game. That comes with, tight ends, intermediate routes, and allowing him to go deep and all this stuff. And I think the Steelers are in better position to do that. I also asked George about Arthur Smith's offense and the opportunities that will be created for him. You can read all of that in my column at post-gazette.com. Justin Fields saw enough that I was intrigued. I want to see more. Don't want to say it's bad. It's also football in shorts. Russell Wilson was about the same thing. But, it'll be interesting to monitor the quarterbacks there. Najee Harris was there, showed up after about an hour and didn't do a whole lot. Mike Tomlin said that absence was excused. He did not talk to us afterward, didn't really expect him to. But I think there's an interesting storyline developing with the Steelers, and I'm going to write about this soon, where Najee Harris and Cam Heyward, not necessarily, not in a bad way, but seem a little hacked off or have reasons to be hacked off. You saw Cam Heyward take the social media and was, not happy about a report that appeared on Post-Gazette.com on how the Steelers were made aware of him skipping OTAs. I'm not commenting on that. I don't want to comment on that. I don't know enough. But what I do know is he seems a little salty. Najee Harris didn't have his fifth-year option picked up. I wouldn't blame him if he was a little upset. You want the security, right? You want a team to believe in you. Well, if they're a little irritated, so what? Isn't that a good thing? I'm glad that people are irritated over there. I mean, in a healthy way, as long as you channel it. I mean, they should have something to prove. I'm eager to see them prove it. I think it'll be fantastic. If the two-headed monster with Jaylen Warren can be even better, defensive line, stop the run, all that stuff with Cam Heyward. If you've got guys that are hacked off, regardless of what the reason is, we saw it tonight with Oneil Cruz, oftentimes leads to some very good things. So stuff to monitor. We'll be back with more tomorrow. That does it for my 10 minutes, but thank you as always for watching. Make sure and like and subscribe. You can get all of this content and stuff from our other Post-Gazette writers, reporters, podcast hosts, all those people. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.